Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Bakes here, and thank you for joining me for day number 29 of my 31 Days of Horror. I said in yesterday's review that today's movie was going to be another first time watch, and this is also actually going to be the last first time watch for this year's 31 Days. Today's movie is by a classic and beloved horror slash sci fi director from the year 1975. Today's movie is Shivers by David Cronenberg. So getting into the plot for Shivers, as I said, it was a first time watch for myself. I'm actually going to read the description here on the back because it's quite short. This is a bootleg release of Shivers, by the way, and I actually have a funny story about it, which I'll save for the end of the review if you want to stick around. But just going to go off the description here on the back. The residents of a suburban high-rise apartment building are being infected by a strain of parasites that turn their hosts into mindless, sex-crazed fiends out to infect others by the slightest sexual contact. And once someone shows signs of housing a parasite, it becomes a matter of time to see who is next. That's pretty much the gist of the movie. As I said, they're pretty short and normally pretty accurate descriptions on these bootlegs, so I thought, why not? That's pretty much it. Like this, it's not just this high rise. It's like this island community, sort of like enclosed sanctuary kind of thing. It's actually pretty cool. And this parasite is inside the building, and it's almost like a zombie infection movie, but instead of turning into like a zombie, you become like a sex fiend, which sounds really weird, but it's actually quite interesting. So getting into my thoughts of Shivers for a first time watch, I've actually said this about Cronenberg before on my channel many a times. I'm not as high on his filmography as what a lot of other people are. There's Cronenberg movies that I like. There's only one Cronenberg movie I absolutely love. It's one of my all-time favorite movies ever, which is his remake of The Fly. And there's other ones that are, up there. Dead Ringers, The Brood's okay. There's a handful of Cronenberg stuff that I do like and whatever, but just his work overall I'm not really connected to. And this movie falls into the better half of his catalogue, just after a first time watch, yet still isn't a movie that has immediately won me over, unfortunately. This movie's feel and style is nice compared to a lot of like more recent Cronenberg movies that have been coming out. Like earlier this year, I went and watched his new movie, The Shrouds. He had a movie from a couple of years ago called Crimes of the Future, which I actually didn't mind that one, but just his whole feel and vibe that he's been doing with his movies over the more recent output just haven't really been my thing. So I kind of like that this one's just a little bit more easier to digest. Yes, it's still got some Cronenbergisms. I don't know how to fucking word it, so I'm just gonna call them that. It is quite weird with this infection that's turning people like sex crazed, but it is a lot more just like simple compared to, again, if I'm using The Shrouds or Crimes of the Future. This movie and its story is just a little bit more easier to digest, which is nice. His son Brandon Cronenberg, I actually really like his movies. If I have to invest my stock within the Cronenberg family going forward, I think I'm sort of done with David. I don't really see much of what could be coming into his filmography, grabbing my attention. But I'm very heavily invested in Brandon. I think he does some really cool stuff. But either way, getting back to this movie, like I spoke about in the plot, I actually really like the setting and location in this one. It's like this isolated island community. They all live in this high rise. It's got like this parking, golf courses, tennis courts, spas, shops. Like it just seems like really fucking cool. And I'm like, okay, this is actually like a low-key fireplace, and it's like, fuck, this is a really cool setting to be in. So I really like that about the film. I like the parasites. They're sort of like these slug critters. This is a picture of one on the back that gets squashed. They remind me of the little slug things from James Gunn's Slither. Obviously, this movie came out before Slither, so if one was inspired by the other, it'd be Slither over Shivers. But still really cool, like little critters crawling around, and they're pretty nasty and gross, and they deliver really good body horror with like jumping inside people and popping out, and even just sliding around and leaving like these blood trails. It's pretty cool. This movie really does, especially by the end of it, it does really feel like a zombie horde movie, like the final scene in the movie that takes place like in the pool and whatever, and everyone's closing in. Like, tell me that's not something out of like Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead, but just replace the zombies with like these sex crazed people. Like, I just find that all really cool, and I like that it's a change on the formula because they're not zombies, but it feels so similar to that. There is stuff to like about this movie for sure, but just like I said, after having watched it currently just the once, it's still yet to click with me. Like I said, it's definitely in the better half of Cronenberg's discography for myself. Unfortunately, just wasn't a home run. Like I said, above this one, I'd still have The Fly easily. Like I said, The Fly's just one of my all-time favourite movies just in general, but definitely my favourite from Cronenberg. Dead Ringers, probably above this one. Yeah, I think I listed a couple other before, but Shivers is definitely in the better half from what I've seen of Cronenberg. I'm going to give Shivers from the year 1975 a 6 out of 10. Yeah, like I said, this is a bootleg release of Shivers, and I'll tell you the funny story about it now. So, when I was putting together a list of movies that I wanted to do for my 31 days, there was a few movies that I didn't own and I had to pick up for the 31 days, which was fine. But I did something this year that I don't normally do. I announced my list ahead of time, so if my viewers wanted to follow along with the movies that I was doing, they can. And Shivers was on the list. And I was in no rush to pick up Shivers because I could have fucking crossed my heart that I had this on the shelf. And yeah, it turns out I didn't. So when I was getting closer to Shivers, and I'm like, okay, I'll grab that off the shelf and, get it ready. No, I did not have Shivers, so I had to pick up a bootleg of Shivers. Luckily, there's a bootleg site that have some like really cool releases and makes it easier to find some movies. So this one didn't have an Australian release, so yeah, the bootleg site came in clutch. I actually don't know the name of this site. It has like some tags on it, but every time I've searched these tags, I can't find it. I just know because I have their site like saved on my computer now. So, but either way, that's the story that probably no one cared for or asked about, or probably didn't entertain you. But that's it. Thank you for joining me for day number 29 of my 31 Days of Horror. Hopefully, you guys have enjoyed the series. We've got 2 more days to go. The next 2 movies are family friendly horror movies. You can even take the horror out of it, I guess. But like, yeah, they're movies that I think are fun and good for suitable for the whole family. Younger audiences and older. And the movie on day number 31 will actually take place on Halloween as well. So I think that's pretty cool. But thank you for joining me for day number 29, and I'll see you tomorrow for day 30.